Pleiadian 2025, the complete process of awakening in the mind in unitary consciousness. Greetings once more, my friends. I am Tin, a voice from Maya, here to share insights with you. Today, you've posed a profound inquiry concerning unity consciousness, and so we shall delve into this expansive topic with greater depth and illumination. Imagine the mind at its nascent stage, not as a complex mechanism, but as an untouched, fertile field, a boundless canvas poised to receive every single impression. Picture it every fleeting sight, every resonant sound, every subtle emotional imprint, every energetic vibration emanating from its environment settles deep within this receptive landscape. It's absorbed entirely, without the slightest review or critical filter, like a perfectly clear pool reflecting every passing cloud and bird without judgment. Over time, the very structure of this mind begins to coalesce, not from intrinsic design, but from the accumulated fragments of every single influence encountered since the moment of its birth. In these earliest, most formative stages, there is absolutely no discerning filter. The mind is an open, porous entity. It indiscriminately soaks up the attitudes, both overt and covert, of those closest to it. It absorbs the unspoken, ambient fears permeating a home's atmosphere. It internalizes the prevailing cultural zeitgeist, the body's instinctive and learned responses to stimuli, and the ceaseless, repetitive messages echoing from the wider world. These myriad impressions are not merely scattered, they are meticulously, though unconsciously, organized into intricate layers, much like geological strata. Certain layers inevitably become dominant, rising to the surface of influence, primarily because they were introduced with relentless repetition, deeply etching their patterns into the mental landscape. Conversely, other impressions recede, shifting to the margins of conscious awareness. Yet like powerful undercurrents, they ceaselessly continue to shape reactions and inform responses from the depths. This profound process of layering and structuring unfolds long before the developing consciousness possesses any capacity to truly comprehend the immense weight, the far-reaching implications of what it is so passively assimilating. Fundamentally, the mind constructs its entire sense of identity, its very framework of self, through this intricate, often uncritical process of absorption. In its formative years, the mind uncannily imitates the very tone, the emotional cadence of those who primarily guided its early existence. It acts as a mirror, reflecting not just their expressed opinions, but also their most subtle preferences, their unconscious biases, and even the nuances of their anxieties and fears. It habitually repeats inherited positions, whether these are belief systems, moral codes, or social standings, and it clings to them with an unshakable conviction, an almost visceral loyalty, precisely because their actual origin was never truly explored or critically examined. The mind's initial impulses, its very foundational drives, emanate almost entirely from this vast reservoir of unconsciously gathered information. Its subsequent interpretations of reality, its understanding of events and people, arise not from fresh insight, but from deeply ingrained patterns installed by the specific circumstances of its early life. Consequently, the mind reacts automatically, almost reflexively, to situations because it simply hasn't yet developed the sophisticated capacity to truly question the source or validity of its own conclusions. It doesn't ask why, It creates meaning not from deliberate inquiry, but from sheer habit, preferring the well-worn grooves of familiarity. The vast majority of its thoughts spring forth from the repetition of previous impressions, much like old recordings replaying, rather than from direct, unmediated perception of the present moment. In this state, the mind fundamentally becomes a container overflowing with echoes, not fresh sounds, but reverberations of the past. And these echoes, these internal replays, dictate its entire understanding of reality. How can it truly see what is when it's so busy listening to what was? In this condition, the mind functions predominantly by impulse, by a knee-jerk reaction, rather than by discernment, by careful conscious consideration. Thoughts may appear to be immediate and intensely personal, yet they almost invariably arise from long-established, deeply wired associations. The mind, caught in its own incessant chatter, rarely pauses to scrutinize the labyrinthine path it took to arrive at its interpretations. It unquestioningly accepts its reactions as fundamental truths, precisely because it possesses no external reference point, no objective standard, beyond its own accumulated content. It's like a person trapped in a windowless room, believing the four walls are the entire universe. A powerful, albeit often misleading, sense of familiarity acts as the primary guide for the selection of thoughts. What is familiar feels inherently reliable, trustworthy, simply because it has been reinforced, reiterated, and replayed countless times over. The mind, therefore, organizes its entire internal world around what was frequently repeated, not necessarily around what is genuinely accurate or truthful. Memory, acting as a quick reference library, provides swift, pre-packaged answers. Pattern recognition, honed through years of observation, supplies immediate conclusions, often bypassing deeper insight. And habit, that pervasive internal autopilot, supplies ready-made judgment. The deeper, more profound movements of consciousness remain lamentably dormant, like seeds awaiting fertile ground, simply because the mind has not yet been exposed to a higher, more expansive reference point, a beacon beyond its self-contained world. The inner space, instead of being clear and open, is cluttered, even choked, with acquired material beliefs, fears, preferences, and narratives absorbed from its environment. Consequently, there is precious little room for clear, unadulterated perception. When impressions accumulate haphazardly, without any guiding principle or inner wisdom, the mind becomes utterly incapable of distinguishing between what is truly essential, what resonates with deep truth, and what is merely superficial noise. Identity, in this cluttered state, forms as a composite, a precarious mixture of all these disparate elements. What emerges is a sense of self that is primarily shaped by external history, by the narrative of circumstances and societal influences, rather than by an authentic inner presence, a core of being. The mind, in this condition, forms opinions with startling conviction, but without ever truly questioning their origins or validity. It develops preferences, often strong ones, but without genuine discernment, without understanding what truly resonates. It harbors fears, sometimes crippling ones, but without comprehending their true genesis. It is crucial to understand that this is not a flaw, not a deficiency of the mind itself. Rather, it is the natural, predictable condition of a mind that has not yet awakened to, or even encountered, the liberating force of truth. It moves, therefore, precisely in the way it was conditioned to move, its actions and reactions often pre-programmed. It speaks with the internal voice, the internal monologue, that it's so thoroughly absorbed from its early influencers. It endlessly repeats internalized messages like a broken record, because no other current, no alternative stream of wisdom was ever truly shown to it. Until genuine contact with true teaching, with spiritual insight, occurs, the mind functions as a complex yet entirely predictable mechanism built exclusively from the raw material of its past. Its responses, to the uninitiated eye, appear intensely personal, unique to the individual, yet they are, in reality, merely the inevitable result of accumulated impressions. It is only when a new frequency, a fresh insight, a spiritual transmission, a profound realization manages to penetrate this dense conditioning that the mind tentatively begins to question the very foundation upon which it has so unthinkingly relied. A mind that has not yet touched spiritual substance, that has not known the direct taste of higher truth, operates almost entirely through a labyrinth of inherited structures. These pervasive structures are not explicitly taught, rather. They subtly pass from generation to generation through unspoken, often subconscious channels. They invisibly shape perception, installing filters and biases long before conscious interpretation even begins to stir. The mind receives these deep, generational transmissions in the exact same passive, uncritical way it takes in any initial impression. It accepts them implicitly because, in its unawakened state, there is no established inner authority, no true discerning self, to provide a counter-narrative or a point of critical review. The internal field of awareness thus becomes incredibly crowded, almost suffocated, with beliefs that trace their roots back to ancient ancestral fears, restrictive cultural edicts, historical distortions that have taken on the guise of fact, and humanity's vast collective habits. These profound and pervasive influences conspire to create a dense, almost opaque, atmosphere around the mind. Every single reaction, every interpretation, every thought is filtered through this pervasive and often distorting atmosphere. Consequently, fear becomes a depressingly frequent outcome, not merely from present threats, but because the resonance of fear has been deeply embedded within this psychic field for centuries, passing down like an ancient, persistent echo. Memory, with its endless replays of the past, takes overwhelming precedence over the vivid, immediate reality of presence. The mind, like a skilled mimic, simply imitates what it has observed, ceaselessly repeating patterns that were never truly questioned, never truly challenged. Emotions arise, not necessarily as a fresh response to the present, but because they are inextricably tied to these ancient, deeply etched marks of the past. In this condition, spiritual impulses, delicate and subtle as they are, cannot find reception. Why? Because the mind is entirely preoccupied, completely absorbed by the clamorous noise of its own pervasive conditioning. There is absolutely no internal quietude, no receptive space for subtlety. True guidance moves through extraordinarily delicate channels, like a soft whisper in a storm, but the unilluminated mental field utterly lacks the sensitivity, the refined attunement required to register such nuanced input. Paradoxically, the mind, in this state, genuinely believes it is perceiving clearly, that its interpretations are accurate and objective. Yet, its perceived clarity is not built upon genuine insight, but upon a constant barrage of repetitive signals, familiar patterns replaying themselves. These signals skillfully imitate movement and give the compelling impression of discernment, but they arise fundamentally from deep-seated habit rather than from true, fresh perception. Relentless activity, a constant mental busyness, becomes the single most dominant characteristic of the unilluminated mind. Thoughts race quickly, interpretations are formed in an instant, and judgments materialize without a moment's pause for reflection. This sheer speed of mental activity, this relentless churning, deceptively creates the sensation of certainty. The mind, in its haste, mistakenly equates movement, this rapid processing, with genuine understanding, simply because movement provides a constant stream of stimulation and distraction. Meanwhile, the deeper, more profound currents of consciousness, the vast reservoir of intrinsic wisdom, remain utterly untouched, unexplored beneath the agitated surface. The unilluminated mental field is incapable of distinguishing between a mere reaction, a conditioned response, and true recognition of fresh, insightful apprehension. It accepts every reaction as intrinsically authentic, as genuinely itself, precisely because it cannot perceive the crucial gap, the crucial space between an external stimulus and its own ingrained interpretation. This perilous inability creates a potent and relentless cycle of self-reinforcement. The mind, trapped in this loop, continually reacts to its own internal projections, its fears, its judgments, its perceived limitations, thereby intensifying its identification with these very projections. The more it reacts in this automatic fashion, the stronger and more entrenched the cycle becomes, like grooves worn ever deeper. From this self-perpetuating feedback loop, the mind then constructs its entire worldview, a complex edifice built entirely upon these foundational reactions. Consequently, relationships, decisions, life goals, and even self-assessments all arise from this fundamentally unstable, perpetually shifting base. Despite this density, spiritual impulses continually attempt to touch this conditioned field, like gentle rays of dawn trying to pierce through a thick fog. However, the sheer density of conditioning acts as an impenetrable barrier, blocking their entry. These subtle impulses, by their very nature, require stillness, a receptive internal quiet. But the unilluminated mind actively avoids stillness, even fears it, because stillness, in its profound silence, inevitably exposes the uncomfortable lack of inner coherence, the fragmentation, the absence of a true, unified center. Therefore, constant activity becomes a convenient shield, a perpetual busyness that wards off uncomfortable truths, and distraction becomes an invaluable refuge. The mind zealously invests in the familiar, however stifling or limiting it may be, simply because the familiar demands no challenging adjustment, no unsettling change. As long as this condition persists, the mind remains utterly incapable of perceiving truth directly, unmediated and raw. Instead, it remains deeply dependent on external validation, the desperate need for approval from others on collective agreement, finding safety in the consensus of the group, and on the capricious dictates of emotional impulse being swayed by every passing feeling. This unilluminated mental field, this dense landscape of conditioning remains stubbornly intact, impenetrable, until something profound shifts within a subtle yet undeniable internal movement that, almost imperceptibly, begins to open a new direction, a fresh pathway into awareness. Then a quiet, almost imperceptible moment arrives. It is the moment when the mind, with a gentle, tentative grace, begins to loosen its tenacious attachment to its own content, to the very narratives and identities it has so carefully constructed. This pivotal moment does not announce itself with fanfare or dramatic revelation. It simply comes quietly, like the first blush of dawn. It manifests not as a sudden earthquake, but as a subtle inner pull, a magnetic yearning, a small yet profound movement that perceptibly shifts a deep-seated tension from the agitated surface of conscious thought to a much deeper, more profound layer of being. The earnest search, the quest for something more, begins intriguingly, without a clear or definable object. The mind, still in its early stages of awakening, struggles to name precisely what draws it forward, what compels this new direction. Yet the movement, this unmistakable internal pivot, is undeniably real. A pervasive sense of incompleteness begins to arise, a poignant awareness that the existing framework of self is insufficient, that there is something vital missing. And with this dawning realization, familiar thoughts, the very mental constructs that once held such sway and authority, gradually begin to lose their iron grip. Old patterns, once so compelling, now seem the very bedrock of our understanding. The familiar frameworks through which we typically interpret the world begin to feel less absolute, less rigidly defined. It's as if the intellectual foundations, once thought immutable, now possess a subtle fluidity, hinting at dimensions previously overlooked. Consider, for a moment, those daily occurrences that used to provoke an immediate, almost involuntary surge of emotion or a predictable behavioral response. Where once an instantaneous surge of irritation or defensiveness would arise, now a subtle, almost imperceptible hiatus intervenes. This isn't a deliberate suppression, but an emergent moment of stillness, like a breath held just before the old pattern attempts to reassert itself. This newly found interlude, this delicate gap between stimulus and knee-jerk reaction, isn't a void, it's a crucial precursor, the earliest, most gentle whisper indicating the incipient emergence of a deeper, more expansive state of awareness. Could this be the quiet unlatching of a door to realms of perception we've long forgotten? Deep within, beneath the usual clamor of thoughts and desires, an unfamiliar form of inquiry stirs. These aren't the eager, outward-bound questions born of intellectual curiosity, seeking external data to fill a knowledge gap. No, these questions possess a different resonance. They emanate from a profound, internal recognition, a dawning sense of familiarity with something fundamental yet long dormant. Are these echoes not the soul remembering its own deeper nature? Crucially, these profound queries don't clamor for immediate, definitive answers, nor do they seek resolution in logical constructs. Instead, their very asking, their gentle articulation within, performs a wondrous alchemy. They create an expansive, resonant inner space. It's as if each question acts like a soft key, unlocking new chambers within the psyche, not to fill them with information, but to allow them to breathe, to simply be. This burgeoning spaciousness is not emptiness, but a fertile ground for deeper insight. Consequently, this evolving journey of discovery unfolds predominantly through an intuitive feeling rather than a strenuous, analytical thought process. The mind, as if standing outside itself for the first time, begins to observe its own intricate patterns, its ingrained biases, and its predictable loops. It starts to intuit that its long-held, habitual interpretations and mental models are utterly insufficient to encompass the vast, multifaceted tapestry of lived experience. This profound recognition, surprisingly, doesn't ignite internal conflict or a battle of wills. Quite the opposite, it gracefully carves out yet more space, like a sculptor chipping away extraneous material to reveal the form beneath. As a result of this internal alchemy, the very atmosphere of one's inner world grows remarkably more expansive, light, and permeable. This newfound spaciousness, rather than being a void, becomes an inviting frontier, allowing novel impressions, subtle energies, and fresh perspectives to effortlessly permeate its borders. This initial softening, a gentle thawing of rigid mental structures subtly, yet profoundly, alters the mind's predetermined trajectory in ways utterly imperceptible to external observation or measurement. There's no grand, dramatic upheaval, no thunderous pronouncements or seismic shifts in one's outward existence. Daily life, with its mundane routines and responsibilities, continues seemingly uninterrupted. Yet beneath the surface, something profoundly subtle has irrevocably shifted. The entire inner system, like a finely tuned compass, has reoriented its needle, pointing towards an entirely different pole. The mind, once caught in relentless, automatic reinforcement cycles, those familiar feedback loops of desire, effort, and temporary satisfaction, gradually begins to disengage, to decouple from their magnetic pull. It finds itself resting with an unprecedented ease, a serene repose previously unknown. It begins to ask profound questions, not with the sharp edge of aggression or intellectual combativeness, but with a gentle, open inquiry. Similarly, it listens, truly listens, without the familiar tension of anticipation, judgment, or the need to immediately formulate a reply. The entire journey of inner exploration, this search, deepens not through strenuous effort, not through a forceful push, but through an unfolding, natural resonance. The mind, now attuned to subtler frequencies, becomes exquisitely aware of an undeniable, almost magnetic attraction to what can only be described as a higher frequency of understanding or being. Importantly, this potent attraction doesn't generate a sense of frantic urgency, a need to grasp or attain instead. It cultivates a deep, quiet, and profound receptivity, an open invitation to simply receive. During this phase, the individual embarking on this journey may not possess a clear intellectual grasp of what exactly is transpiring within their deepest being. Yet an unmistakable sense of direction emerges with crystalline clarity. It's as if an invisible rudder has been turned. The antiquated, rigid mental and emotional structures that once governed perception and reaction begin, almost imperceptibly, to lose their authoritative grip. Thoughts that once felt like immutable, inevitable commands or unshakable truths now seem to possess a surprising malleability. They feel optional rather than absolute. The mind starts to intuit, with a profound and growing certainty that an entirely different, perhaps deeper, level of meaning and significance quietly resides just beneath the chaotic, often superficial surface of everyday events. This burgeoning intuition, this deep-seated sense of a hidden stratum of reality, transforms into a constant, silent companion, an ever-present undercurrent beneath the ebb and flow of every single experience. The entire trajectory of one's inner life undergoes a profound alteration, seemingly without any immediately identifiable external cause or specific trigger. This profound shift feels entirely natural, organic, as if an unseen, benevolent intelligence is subtly, yet surely, guiding the entire unfolding process from within. The mind, crucially, is no longer striving, it's not exerting force or effort to achieve a particular outcome. Instead, it is gracefully responding to this inner guidance, like a sail adjusting to a gentle, favorable breeze. This initial, crucial softening serves as a preparatory phase, subtly conditioning the entire inner system for an eventual, profound contact with truth itself, meticulously loosening the entrenched hold of deeply inherited patterns and conditioned responses. Once this foundational stage of receptivity stabilizes and integrates into the very fabric of being, the mind is then truly ready, exquisitely primed to receive teachings, insights, or wisdom that possess the power to fundamentally reorient its entire internal structure and understanding of reality. Inevitably, a pivotal moment arrives when the mind, now finely tuned and receptive, encounters a specific frequency, be it in a particular text, a resonant voice, or a profound teaching that harmonically matches something it has, perhaps unknowingly, carried silently and deeply within its core for countless years, even decades. This isn't a sudden burst of thrilling excitement, the kind that flares up and quickly fades. Instead, this profound encounter generates an immediate, deep, and pervasive sense of calm. This serene calm isn't merely the absence of agitation. It springs forth from a profound inner recognition of the enduring presence of something truly stable, an unwavering anchor in the shifting seas of existence. Consider specific writings, certain voices, or particular teachings. They possess a unique, unmistakable quality that doesn't agitate or stimulate the restless currents of analytical thought. On the contrary, their essence is to stabilize thought, to bring it to a point of luminous stillness. When this profound quality, this resonant truth, permeates the mind's field of awareness, the incessant churning of mental activity gently, almost miraculously, ceases. This sudden cessation, this exquisite pause, is not a void but a sacred gateway. This profound pause permits the mind to receive the incoming impression, the wisdom, directly and unadulterated, without the habitual, distorting filtration through its familiar, often biased, interpretive structures. Genuine teaching, you see, carries an inherent, self-authenticating resonance, a vibrational quality so pure that it effortlessly bypasses all accumulated layers of intellectual interpretation and conceptualization. It penetrates the interior directly, touching the very heart of one's being with an undeniable truth. At the very moment this direct, interior touch of truth occurs, the mind, surprisingly, does not recoil into its accustomed habit of rushing to analyze, to dissect, or to categorize. Instead, a profound quietude settles upon it, an effortless cessation of mental chatter. The individual experiencing this may not intellectually comprehend why this profound stillness has descended, nor the mechanism by which it arrived. Yet, despite any lack of conceptual understanding, the stillness itself is utterly unmistakable, vibrant, and undeniable. Indeed, this deep, pervasive quietude is the unequivocal first sign, the indelible mark, that truth has truly entered and begun to integrate into the very core of one's inner system. Why is this so significant? Because truth, in its purest essence, requires no persuasion, it has no need to cajole or convince. Truth needs no elaborate argument, no intricate logical proofs to validate its existence. Furthermore, it requires no emotional force, no dramatic appeals to sentiment to establish its veracity. Instead, truth simply reveals itself, unveiling an intrinsic, self-evident clarity that the busy, analytical mind, left to its own devices, could never hope to generate. The mind, finding itself in this state, doesn't struggle, it simply rests, surrendering into a profound sense of alignment, a harmonious resonance with this newly unveiled reality. This sacred alignment, this perfect attunement, acts as a conduit for the introduction of an entirely new substance into the field of consciousness. This substance, this profound essence, bears no resemblance whatsoever to any previously known mental content, any thought, emotion, or memory ever encountered before. This novel substance possesses an undeniable, profound inner density, a quiet but potent weight that renders all other conventional mental content, all previous thoughts and concerns, suddenly thin, ephemeral, and even insubstantial by comparison. Crucially, the mind feels this profound presence, this new quality, long before it can even begin to conceptualize it, to place it into words or intellectual frameworks. In time, this luminous substance becomes the undisputed, stable center, the very anchor around which all subsequent stages of inner development and transformation will organically unfold. As the mind continues its profound encounter with this previously unknown substance, a subtle yet continuous, irreversible change commences. The very architecture of thought, its deeply ingrained patterns and habitual modes of operation, begins to spontaneously rearrange itself, gently restructuring around the intrinsic quality and silent resonance of the teachings that resonated so deeply. These teachings, when viewed superficially, might appear deceptively simple, perhaps even unextraordinary in their phrasing. Yet, their actual impact, their transformative power, reaches far beyond the mere intellectual comprehension of their words. The mind, now captivated and drawn, returns to them not out of sense of obligation or external instruction, but from an undeniable, intrinsic pull. It reads the very same lines again and again, not from forgetfulness, but because each renewed encounter triggers a profound, ineffable movement deep within a stirring, an awakening. With each return, this internal recognition of truth deepens, expanding like ripples across a tranquil pond. The purpose of these profound teachings isn't to create new beliefs or to replace one set of dogmas with another. Their true function is far more radical. They meticulously open up vast inner space, creating a fertile ground for direct, unmediated perception, for a pure seeing that bypasses all filters. The mind, in its heightened sensitivity, distinctly feels this profound clearing, this purification of its inner landscape. As this internal clearing progresses, the incessant stream of thoughts begins to naturally decrease in volume and intensity, much like a river settling into a calmer flow. Concurrently, habitual reactions, those automatic emotional and behavioral responses, soften, losing their sharp edges and reflexive grip. A profound moment of self-discovery occurs. The mind, in its newfound clarity, begins to recognize itself within the pristine, luminous truth being unveiled. This deep, resonant recognition fundamentally alters the entire trajectory of perception, redirecting it from its accustomed outward focus to a more profound interiority. Consequently, the field of consciousness becomes exquisitely receptive, open and porous to subtler realities. The mind, with an emergent wisdom, begins to instinctively prioritize that which genuinely nourishes its deeper being over that which merely stimulates its superficial senses or fleeting desires. Attention, once scattered and fragmented, stabilizes and deepens, like a plumb line finding its anchor. Consciousness, rather than expanding outward into the endless complexities of the external world, begins to expand inward, delving into its own boundless depths. The sheer, unadulterated presence of truth, without any overt effort or exertion of will, subtly yet powerfully begins to reorganize long-held assumptions and deeply ingrained beliefs simply by its very existence. No force is applied, no argument is made. Truth's mere presence acts like a gentle solvent. The individual starts to feel, with an undeniable certainty, that something profoundly fundamental, something foundational, is taking place beneath the often turbulent surface of daily life. The teachings, imbued with their unique and potent frequency, effortlessly penetrate the deepest, most shielded layers of the mind, subtly dissolving long-standing resistance and entrenched patterns without a single confrontation or struggle. This marks a pivotal phase, a period of profound maturation where the mind gracefully learns to find its repose and stability within its own innate discernment, its refined capacity to perceive subtle distinctions, rather than ceaselessly seeking validation, approval, or affirmation from external sources or opinions. Over time, that previously encountered new substance, that luminous core of truth, continues to clarify, to grow more vivid and palpable. It gradually anchors itself firmly at the very epicenter of consciousness, forming an unshakable foundation. And from this deep anchorage, it radiates a silent, profound certainty. This isn't an intellectual certainty based on logical understanding or conceptual grasp. Rather, it's an intrinsic knowing, an unwavering conviction that transcends the need for comprehension. It is this luminous, silent certainty that then acts as an inner compass, unfailingly guiding the mind toward the subsequent stages of its intricate inner movement and spiritual evolution. As truth truly begins to anchor itself, settling deep within the very fabric of the mind, attention, quite naturally and spontaneously, commences a gentle withdrawal from the ceaseless clamor and myriad allurements of external stimulation. This isn't a forced discipline or a conscious act of will. Rather, it's an organic, effortless movement, arising not from preference or deliberate intention, but from a deeper, inherent wisdom. The mind, now discerning of its own well-being, instinctively begins to direct its precious energy inward, drawn by an undeniable gravitational pull, precisely because this inward orientation, this interiority, feels profoundly more stable, more grounding, and more authentic than the fluctuating turbulence of external noise and sensory input. Consequently, a deep, resonant silence begins to hold immeasurably more value, more intrinsic worth, than even the most stimulating or engaging conversation. The mind, in its burgeoning wisdom, instinctively seeks out fewer and fewer distractions, recognizing them not as pleasant diversions, but as disruptive forces that subtly, yet profoundly, interfere with the precious inner settling, the profound integration that has so beautifully begun. This profound inner transformation manifests itself in palpable, yet subtle, somatic sensations. It might be felt as a gentle, almost tender pull or expansion within the chest area, a sensation akin to an opening heart. Alternatively, some experience it as a soft, interior withdrawal of awareness, a centering within the very core of the head. From this newly discovered vantage point, deep and unbidden reflection spontaneously emerges. It's not an effortful rumination, but a natural blossoming of self-inquiry. The mind, becoming its own gentle observer, begins to contemplate its own fluctuating states, its internal weather patterns, and its emotional landscapes with a newfound, detached interest rather than the familiar grip of attachment or identification. Crucially, the vital space between an external stimulus and an internal, ingrained response widens considerably, creating a precious moment of freedom. Thoughts, which once demanded immediate attention and exerted an almost tyrannical urgency, now lose some of their pressing imperative, settling like leaves upon a calm stream. The mind, in its heightened sensitivity, now perceives the very texture of its own subtle movements, the nuanced interplay of its internal processes with remarkable clarity. Indeed, the very nature of perception shifts fundamentally. The once rigid, clearly delineated edges of experience soften, blurring into a more fluid and interconnected awareness. The mind begins to notice, with quiet fascination, the manifold, previously unseen layers that exist beneath the superficial surface of everyday events. Even the most ordinary experiences, once taken for granted, now start to reveal rich, subtle tones, a quiet resonance that speaks volumes without words. The mind, in its evolved state, does not immediately rush to conceptualize or intellectually dissect these newly perceived tones. Instead, it feels them directly, deeply, allowing their intrinsic meaning to resonate without categorization. This quality of pure, unadulterated feeling, this intuitive apprehension, becomes increasingly prominent, taking precedence over mere intellectual analysis. And perhaps most exquisitely, a profound, luminous stillness begins to manifest, not as an absence, but as a vibrant, palpable presence that softly appears between the individual thoughts. Crucially, this emergent stillness is anything but an empty void, a mere cessation of activity. On the contrary, it is profoundly full, brimming with an ineffable quality of presence and an unwavering, deep stability. This decisive turning inward, This reorientation towards the interior landscape marks the unequivocal beginning of true spiritual maturity, a shift from superficial seeking to authentic being. As this profound turning inward deepens, becoming more established and integrated, the mind itself begins to transform its very self-perception. It no longer feels like a fragmented, ceaseless stream of disconnected thoughts, but rather expands into a vast, unified, and permeable field of awareness. Within this boundless inner field, attention, once scattered, gathers and consolidates, becoming singularly focused and profoundly potent. This concentrated attention leads to a dramatic increase in overall sensitivity. The inner body, with its subtle energies and sensations, becomes far more perceptible, resonating with a newfound vibrancy. Even the act of breathing, once an unconscious physiological process, begins to move differently, with a deeper, more expansive rhythm. Emotions, while registering with heightened clarity and precision, simultaneously exert significantly less dominance over the inner landscape they are observed rather than consumed by. The mind, in its evolved state, begins to naturally gravitate towards and strongly prefer silent observation, a serene witness consciousness over the constant compulsion to engage in internal commentary, analysis, or judgment. Consequently, the pervasive internal noise, the ceaseless chatter and mental narratives, gradually loses its authoritative grip and its power to dictate experience. What once felt like an urgent need to share every fleeting insight, every new realization, diminishes. What once held our fervent grasp or demanded our urgent attention now subtly recedes into the background, losing its sharp edges. Our internal clock recalibrates words, once a rapid-fire succession of concepts, now seem to unfurl at a more deliberate pace, allowing space for deeper contemplation. Paradoxically, awareness itself seems to quicken, becoming exquisitely sensitive to nuances previously overlooked. The individual embarks on a profound journey, beginning to intuit, rather than merely intellectualize, that the very essence of meaning emanates not from the tumultuous cascade of external events or fleeting achievements, but from an inherent, vibrational inner resonance. This isn't a theory to be debated or a philosophy to be penned. This realization requires no intricate articulation, no complex syllogism. It simply is. It arises unbidden and undeniable from direct, unmediated experience, like the pure taste of water or the warmth of the sun. In this process, the bustling, chattering mind, so often a generator of endless thoughts, transforms. It quiets, becoming a finely tuned listener and a tuned receiver. It begins to perceive the delicate, almost imperceptible movements of intuition, those gentle nudges or quiet affirmations that guide us from within. It hears subtle shifts in energetic tone, sensing the underlying current of a situation or the unspoken emotion in a room. More intimately still, it detects the nascent stirring, the faint but persistent sense that something profound is quietly forming, taking shape deep within one's own being. This deliberate turning inward, this sacred pilgrimage to the core, meticulously sculpts a sanctuary within the self, a hallowed, inviolable space where true integration can finally occur. And what an astonishing transformation this sanctuary engenders. It blossoms into a haven so profoundly attractive, so deeply fulfilling, that it far outshines the ephemeral allure of external activity, the constant chase for validation or fleeting pleasures. While the individual remains fully capable of participating in the vibrant tapestry of life, engaging with family, pursuing passions, contributing to the world, something fundamental has shifted. It's as if their spiritual center of gravity has been profoundly re-anchored. The inner world, once perhaps neglected or deemed less significant, now carries an immense, undeniable weight, its truths resonating far more powerfully than the often tumultuous and distracting outer world. This sustained movement inward isn't merely a retreat, it's an intentional preparation, meticulously honing the mind for the reception of deeper, more expansive truths that transcend superficial understanding. It actively strengthens our capacity for receptivity, transforming us from rigid containers into porous vessels, ready to absorb wisdom in ways we hadn't previously imagined. This cultivation literally opens up vast inner space, creating fertile ground, a welcoming emptiness for what comes next, for the insights, revelations, and transformations that are patiently awaiting their moment to emerge. When this delicate process of turning inward stabilizes, achieving a quiet, unwavering consistency, the mind becomes exquisitely poised. It develops an unprecedented ability to absorb truth, not just intellectually, as a collection of facts or concepts, but at a level far beyond the mere grasp of reason, a level that is felt, embodied, and deeply understood without needing to be analyzed. As the mind learns to truly rest in this inward orientation, allowing its constant striving to subside, teachings imbued with genuine spiritual substance, ancient wisdom perhaps, or newly revealed insights, begin to resonate and echo with profound clarity within its deepest chambers. It's a curious and beautiful phenomenon. Certain powerful passages, potent phrases, or core spiritual insights begin to arise in consciousness, not through conscious effort, but repeatedly, spontaneously, almost like recurring motifs in a divine symphony. They appear at the most unexpected moments, perhaps surfacing during the profound stillness of meditation, or even amidst the hustle and bustle of daily movement, while walking, driving, or engaging in the most ordinary of tasks. What makes this repetition so remarkable is its utter lack of force. It is never coerced or willed. Instead, the mind, drawn by an undeniable resonance, returns to them naturally, effortlessly, much like a homing pigeon finding its way. This is because their inherent frequency, their vibrational signature, perfectly matches the burgeoning inner clarity that is now awakening and emerging within. This persistent yet gentle repetition doesn't merely reinforce, it creates a state of deep saturation. The teachings, no longer abstract notions floating on the surface of thought, begin to permeate the very deepest layers of the mind, seeping into its fundamental structure like water into parched earth. They cease to exist as mere concepts, those dry, intellectual constructs. Instead, they transform into living impressions, vibrant and dynamic, leaving an indelible imprint on the very fabric of one's being. Each subsequent return to these teachings isn't mere recall, it's an unveiling, revealing yet another subtle, profound layer of meaning, much like peeling back the skin of an onion to discover its intricate core. Gradually, imperceptibly, these teachings begin to flow through the entire system, mind, body, and spirit like a gentle yet insistent current. This purifying current, with its steady, unwavering presence, begins to gently wash away old, encrusted content, the stale narratives, the unresolved emotional residues, the calcified self-perceptions. Memories, once heavy with the emotional charge of past hurts or triumphs, begin to shed their intensity, becoming simply information rather than overwhelming sensations. Long-held assumptions, those foundational beliefs we rarely questioned, now find their stability inexplicably dissolving, crumbling not under intellectual assault, but under the gentle pressure of an emerging truth. The experience is palpable. The mind feels remarkably lighter, as if a great burden has been lifted. The old, rigid structures of belief, habit, and identity, which once demanded so much psychic energy, inevitably weaken and begin to dissipate, precisely because they're no longer actively fed by the vital current of our attention. For truth, in its purest form, carries an undeniable resonance, an inherent, self-sustaining stability that, like a perfectly pitched musical note, effortlessly dissolves anything unable to match its harmonious frequency. What is truly astonishing is the mind's response. It does not resist this profound process of dissolution, this letting go of the familiar. Quite the opposite, it experiences an overwhelming sense of relief, a liberation from the ceaseless effort of maintaining those outdated structures. This deep saturation ultimately creates a profound coherence, an exquisite inner harmony. This coherence is not an abstract idea, but a distinctly felt increase in inner order, a sense of everything aligning and falling into its rightful place. Thoughts, once scattered and chaotic, now align more easily, forming coherent patterns of understanding. Discernment, the capacity to perceive subtle differences and make wise choices, arises more consistently, with a clarity that cuts through confusion. The inner space, once fragmented by conflicting desires and anxieties, gradually unifies, becoming a seamless, integrated whole. As this saturation deepens, the mind organically develops a revolutionary new pattern. It instinctively learns to return to the wellspring of inner truth before reacting to external stimuli. This isn't a practice one consciously undertakes. It transcends mere discipline. It becomes instinctive, the new default state, an automatic pivot, much like breathing or blinking. The teachings, now deeply integrated, form an unshakable foundation that fundamentally regulates perception itself. The mind, having become intimately familiar with the profound feeling of coherence, that sense of inner rightness and harmony, now instantly recognizes discord, even the faintest ripple of misalignment. This immediate recognition strips away the false allure of old, destructive patterns. They no longer offer the spurious comfort they once did. They no longer feel like home. For a new, truer home has been discovered within. From this new coherence, which now acts as the unwavering center of one's being, consciousness begins to expand outward, not in a chaotic or ungrounded way, but with remarkable stability and clarity. The individual now perceives life, its challenges and its joys, not through the distorting lens of memory colored by past hurts, biases, and conditioned responses, but through the crystal clear, unfiltered lens of truth. Situations that once seemed impossibly complex or fraught with ambiguity now appear elegantly simpler. their underlying dynamics readily apparent. Decisions, once a source of agonizing deliberation, now arise with surprising ease and less mental effort, guided by an inner compass. Confusion, that murky state of mental fog, dissolves far more quickly, unable to gain purchase in the newly coherent inner landscape. Consequently, the mind responds to life's myriad demands with significantly greater accuracy, its actions and choices perfectly attuned to the present moment and its inherent wisdom. Ultimately, this profound saturation of truth aligns the individual's entire inner world with a higher, expansive field of intelligence, a subtle yet potent force that ceaselessly guides the grand tapestry of spiritual evolution. This alignment, far from being a singular event, strengthens, deepens, and refines itself over time, becoming an unbreakable bond. As a result, the entire system of being becomes noticeably less reactive to external pressures and far more exquisitely attuned to subtle impulses, the whispers of intuition, the gentle currents of divine guidance, the silent urgings of the soul. The mind, once blind to it, now begins to discern and profoundly feel the presence of an underlying, immutable order, an inherent cosmic harmony that, remarkably, was always there, woven into the very fabric of existence, yet remained imperceptible until now. This profound shift, this awakening to the omnipresent order, unequivocally marks the transition to the next, exhilarating phase of spiritual unfolding, a phase where the pure, unadulterated essence of truth begins its ultimate work to lovingly reorganize, reconfigure, and ultimately transform the entire structure of individual identity itself. My dear friends, we sincerely hope that today's teaching has resonated deeply within your hearts and minds, offering a moment of clarity or a spark of inspiration on your unique path. We send you our deepest love and warmest blessing.